Hey everyone, it is Wednesday, February 12th. Two shopping days left for Valentine's Day, everyone. Just saying, just reminding everyone. Uh, it is our great pleasure to have Governor Ehrlich on. Welcome back to the show, Governor. And our host Jackie is out cruising, and so I'm filling in for Jackie. And our regular host Mark is here. Governor Governor Westmore did his State of the State address today. I
I
think I sent you the article. One of our writers said if he were honest, he'd talk about how horrible, how everything's gone down every year since he's been governor.
yeah, the state of the states are typically aspirational. I'll be
Yeah,
diplomatic here,
yeah.
and I did not watch it, but I did get reports and read. I read some news
You didn't
blurbs
miss anything.
from it. But listen, he's a really good public speaker. He's an optimist, and part of his job is to market, sell, if you will, his administration, which is exactly what he did, what he does all the time,
Hmm.
particularly on the national press. We have profound philosophical disagreements with the governor, but he's very good at that, and I suspect he was very well received in an overwhelmingly Democratic General Assembly. Uh, Especially the House of Delegates, we've talked about this many times on this show, is really hard left now. This is a very hard left progressive Democratic Party around the country, clearly in Congress, but especially in a blue state like Maryland. So you talk about economic growth. It's a buzzword. It's easy to talk about, but if the policies aren't there, you can talk about public security and neighborhoods and safety and streets, but if the policies aren't there, if many of your members are just out there virtue signaling on ice, for example, uh,
Yeah,
you're sending, you might send the right messages, but you don't back it up. And as a result, Maryland's in pretty difficult shape, both
yeah. And
budget
here,
wise and public safety wise and reputation wise.
you don't you think they would welcome a ICE facility in Washington County because we lost the FBI headquarters? Remember, they were all tripping over themselves
Yeah, I
when
think
we were.
anything, Dwight. I think anything that starts with ICE right now
Because
is
it does create.
just.
Including picking up the ice in Montgomery on Montgomery County roads.
I've heard it's an ongoing. It's the old joke. What's the Montgomery County policy on snow? And the answer is spring.
Right.
So
Yes.
But let's talk a little bit about it. I mean, you're right. There are rifts that are aspirational and positive, and he had, as is frequently the case in these speeches, a number of call outs in a positive way. But he also spent a fair amount of time sort of blaming what problems Maryland has on the current national administration, on the Trump administration, and that was sort of the yin and the yang that came with that speech. Sort of, if there's something wrong, we're going to blame the national, we're going to blame Trump, and the positive stuff we're going to give credit to ourselves. Um, what are your thoughts about that as a political strategy? Kind of, do you attribute all the pain
I think
to Trump?
it's an excellent political strategy for a person who represents a party that believes in really big government. And clearly, there's no doubt about it. Some of the layoffs, some of the open slots that are occurring at the federal level as a result of the last election and the incoming Trump 2.0 administration. It's a fact. He ran on it. He ran that platform. Now, as Republicans, our second response would be, okay, gotcha. You should have expected this. What did you do in anticipation of it? And what have you done in anticipation of just having the state so dependent on the federal government? What have you done to alleviate that? Have you led with regard to private sector jobs? Have you worked with the business community? Have you cut taxes? Have you gone light on regulation? No, and no, and no, and no. So I think that the president's an easy target. He's good at demonizing the president and aspects of his administration, such as ICE. And it plays very well in Maryland. You both know it. It does.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to expect anything. I'm certainly not going to expect anything proactive in that regard. I found it really interesting. I was informed and I read prior to the speech that he would not address reapportionment. And my understanding is that he did address reapportionment.
Yes, he
And
did.
and I do understand why he did, because right now you have this standoff between the Senate president and the governor with regard to reapportionment, which is a hugely important issue for Democrats. The midterms are coming up. It's a hugely important issue for the governor, who has national ambitions. It's a hugely important issue for the Democratic Party. They want to control the House. Yet you have one Senate president standing in the way and fighting tooth and nail against the governor. So I'm not surprised he brought it up. From the outside, look, we can all have opinions. Republicans can have opinions, both inside the legislature and out. But this is an internal, intramural Democratic fight with huge stakes. So I'm told I get various opinions from my insider friends in Annapolis. I know you two do as well.
Mhm.
On the one hand, Ferguson from the jump has said, no, bad idea. This is not fair and whole 9 yards, and
Right.
good for him. And good for him.
Yeah.
And from the jump, the governor said, we have to protect democracy. We have to make Maryland he didn't say this, but 8-0 state. That's what it's about, really.
Yeah.
Right.
Beating Andy Harris. We all know that. And they dress it up in this language, this high-sounding language, which is ridiculous, and everybody knows better, including Democrats. So I'm interested that he brought it up when I was told, or at least I suspected that he would not, because this is a big fight. This is the fight that will define not just the remainder of this year, but maybe the remainder of his public service in Maryland. When he took on a Democrat Senate president and either won or lost.
The last time this happened was when William Donald Schaefer, I think, was governor. You had the Senate president at odds with the same party governor. I think that may have been the last time, because I think Glenn Denning and O'Malley just had an amen choir.
Yeah, Dwight, the biggest difference between then and now is that Governor Schaefer had no national ambitions. Sure. And he was not in cahoots with the National Democrats to create a new seat in Maryland, because the upcoming midterms are so all important. So it's a different sort. You're right about the fact of it. They clashed. I was in the legislature and in Congress at the time. Although they were two old style Democrats and philosophically pretty close, they clashed on the personality side more than anything. But this is far different. This is national stakes. And listen, you both know I was a victim. I was victimized one time as a member of the House when I came home one day and discovered I no longer lived in my own district and I was a sitting member of Congress. Yeah. Because the National Democrats had told the Annapolis Democrats, Maryland's for Republican, for Democrat. That's ridiculous. It's a blue state. Go about your business and change it. And they did real quick. So this is a different situation, and the stakes are even higher.
Yeah. And, the other astonishing part about Governor Moore, it seems like this is like straight from the Democrat playbook, blame the president. I mean, Barack Obama spent 8 years blaming George W. Bush for anything that went wrong was George W. Bush's fault, and now we've got Wes Moore, why are there no jobs here? Oh, because of Donald Trump.
I was struck, sometimes when I heard you more than once talk about what you spend money as the way you manifest priorities. And yes, it was an interesting juxtaposition. At one point he said, I'm looking at notes, that he was going to spend $4 million to help workers succeed at AI. And I was like, what can you possibly accomplish with $4 million preparing people for AI? It sounded like just kind of a soundbite that they pulled out that really has very little consequence. $4 million is great, but it's not going to go very far. And then at the same time, trumpeting the $1.4 billion for the upgrade for the basically the light rail system in Baltimore. I've done the math on that. There's 14,000 riders a day. That's $100,000 per rider that $1.4 billion represents. So it was kind of interesting as you go through it, and I was looking on the printed page, seeing it as a reflection of what the priorities are for this governor.
It'd be cheaper
Well,
to buy new cars for
the old cliche holds here. If everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. And if you really want to know what the priorities are, look at the numbers. Mark, that's your point, and you're absolutely correct. And obviously, this mass transit number is terrible. It's just, we all know it. We all know it. I was also interested in the issue, as we know that the green left and the progressives have had a problem. On the one hand, and Mark, your point, let's go AI is the future, tech is the future, AI is a driver. But AI takes an enormous amount of energy.
Right.
And wind and solar, i.e. the green preferences, ain't going to get you there. We all know that. They ain't getting us there now. So I didn't mean to say ain't, but they're not getting us there now. And so we've had sort of this split on the left. On the one hand, they talk about economic development as a function of AI. On the other, they talk about, the war on fossil fuels. And it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't.
It doesn't compute.
It doesn't compute. And it doesn't. And the reality of it is it doesn't work in the real world.
I mean, all the windmills they want to put off the shore of Ocean City will not generate enough power to power the entire city, frankly. That's how little power they're going to get from those windmills.
This is an issue that increasingly, I think, is coming our way. The Democrats are being exposed. More real scientists are willing to speak out.
Right.
And there are groups out there in Washington and elsewhere led by real scientists, PhDs. I mean, I'm talking about serious people who have very different views than Al Gore. I always tell people when a liberal arts major takes the lead on a scientific issue, look out, okay? and I don't exempt myself from that either, okay? And we're liberal arts majors because we couldn't do math. And so I just think that this is an issue that doesn't work. It works for them. It has worked for them with young people. It has worked for them in the sense that if you say it real fast, it sounds real good. But keeping people warm, the grid, reliability, the future, AI, it doesn't work.
I can't believe they're still peddling that stuff, considering Al Gore's prophecy in his last book. We're all supposed to be freezing by now, and Florida should be underwater, Manhattan should be underwater. And that's just not happening. I mean, Bill Gates has walked away from the cult of climatology.
But you know what? I'm talking, there are groups out there that these are real science. I'm talking about people that are scientists, not just climate scientists. I'm talking about leaders, even academic leaders who have basically said things that we can understand. If your models are flawed, your results are flawed. and so as we see, a lot of the models were flawed.
Yeah, and we could I think with the high cost of energy, Marylanders would welcome some global warming the last couple of weeks, how cold it was.
Well, this is an issue that the Democrats own. They own it.
Yeah.
Your energy bill owned by the Democrats. All the green promises out there, and we can do this and we can do that. And we weren't science majors, but we did know one thing, that if the science isn't there, it doesn't work. You can promise all you want. You can give all the speeches you want. But if the science isn't there, it doesn't work. And ratepayers are finding out the hard way right now.
So we're getting kind of a master class, if you will, in sort of deflection going on. So one of the things that we're seeing from the governor is to blame the PJM, the interstate transmission effort,
the grid,
the grid that really has no response. The grid is not responsibility for production, but to basically blame them for the fact that we have to pay more for energy when we get it from out of state, which is why we pay more. So that's sort of one area where you PJM. And then the other is to kind of take some of the funds that they've collected from a variety of sort of energy related trust funds. I'm being more generous, but and then use that money to come back to reduce bills. But it's really kind of a token amount of the overall cost that's going on.
Well, Mark, let me just go beyond that. Your point's well taken. You're correct, but I tweeted on this the other day. If climate change is your absolute priority, it's an existential threat. How many times have they repeated that catchphrase or that?
Right.
Well, guess what? They not only took some of the dollars to give some small rebates, but they took some of those dollars just to balance the budget. So it's either an existential threat or it's not. And of course, it's not. Or you wouldn't take the money to balance the budget.
Yeah, I mean, Gov, you probably heard this. We've got a mutual friend of ours who was telling me he had a $1,750 bill for electricity, and now imagine that. I mean, imagine you have a single mother who has to pay even half of that bill on electricity. Where's the compassion from the left? They're supposed to be more compassionate than we are.
There's no compassion. There's talking points. There's no science. There's virtue signaling. But virtue signaling doesn't pay when you're cold. It doesn't pay your bill. And it's so regressive, Dwight, your point. It's so regressive. And because I've been tweeting on this, my responses have been overwhelming. And people are talking to me about their bills and reflecting their bills to me and telling me very similar stories to what you're hearing. Yeah. If you're middle class, if you're working class, if you're poor, and you're living week to week, paycheck to paycheck, and these bills hit you, they're going to hit you hard, and we all know it. And the Democrats own it; they own it.
Yep, and unfortunately, then we're fighting. I mean, at least now we have a friendly Baltimore Sun opposed to the old days. And we got Fox 45 that's friendly to our cause, that's actually getting the news out. I mean, I remember in the old days, the Baltimore Sun was just like anything a Republican suggests is just crazy, I mean,
the Baltimore Sun, or as I call them, the plaintiff, we didn't get along very well. So
yeah,
and they sued me too. But anyway, no, they were classic. They were just classic. But it is a breath of fresh air, I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, the new Sun so much better than the old one.
and Dwight, the reporters are so young. When they call me and ask me questions or do interviews, they have no idea. Many times they have no idea of my history with that paper. It's pretty funny.
Now let me take a slightly different take, but I wanted to get your take on the governor's messaging. I'm struck by how often he seems to get blown off message. I can't imagine when he goes on some of these national appearances that the issues that come out of it, so the disinvitation for the White House being one of them, does this help him? I mean, it seems like he's kind of thrown off message with these things that they end up blowing up.
Well, he's not thrown off message while he's giving the message. He's thrown off message by the background facts.
Yeah.
And so it typically doesn't.
I mean,
It typically doesn't happen during the interview because typically the reporters are pretty friendly. Although he has been asked point blank numerous times on national television, this is protecting democracy? You're going from 7-1, 8-0? Come on, give me a break. But I think he's good at delivering the message short term, but it's not really effective longer term because the facts are screaming in the background.
So that's when the echo from the appearance comes and the fallout.
Yeah.
It's an interesting point. Yes. Okay. Because we've seen a number of cases where he presents things where he's the victim. And then, of course, obviously you get the fact checkers coming in after the fact that give him a little back and forth.
I think this is a sign he won't run for president. Because, I mean, how is he going to deal? He's so thin-skinned. How is he going to deal with Iowa and New Hampshire.
Dwight, I'm throwing the flag on you. Who's more thin-skinned than Gavin Newsom? And he's their front runner. And look at his record.
That's true. That is true.
If thin skin was a measure, was an element of the test, they'd all have a problem.
Yeah. Real quick, Governor, because I know you're a sports fan. Halftime show, Super Bowl. What is the matter with the NFL?
Dwight, you know me. I could give you a 45-minute answer to this. Because we're a sports family, we're a football family. Everybody knows my stories, my ticket, my kids, and Kendall's a huge football mom and sports fan, and we love. What's fascinating to me is, the product. The product is so compelling, especially college football. Mm-hmm. It's so compelling, and it's so entertaining. And in many respects, it's so good, but everything around it is broken. And the same way in the NFL, where the one thing they can't do, although the NFL has tried, is screw around with the product, with telling the officials to call pass interference, whatever it is. But everything around college football and the background and the foundation, there's a lot of problems. And one of those problems in college, obviously, is the era of free agency and NIL, and everything's out of control, and nobody knows what the rules are, and you have to go to Congress to fix it. We all know that. Congress has to get involved in this. There has to be. If Congress doesn't get, with regard to antitrust exemptions and all that, you're just going to have a broken system that's going to continue to be broken. We all know that. Mm-hmm. With professional football, it's you know the fan base generally, and they wanted to go woke. They did go woke. It didn't go over really well, but it didn't hurt their TV ratings. And if you're in the business of TV ratings and selling jerseys, they think they can go as left as possible with their messaging, whatever it happens to be. Mm-hmm. And get away with it. And guess what? So far, the evidence is they can.
So next year we'll see even something more outrageous at the halftime.
Well, we will. But again, because the sport, pro football is the number one sport in the country, and college football is the number two sport in the country. Mm-hmm. Because they're so popular, and because so many people are invested mm-hmm. in the sport, they can do a lot of things to screw it up and get away with it.
Yeah, and I know you're a baseball guy too. In the Orioles catches and pitchers report, I think the Orioles are going to actually have a good season this year.
We're excited about the new era, no doubt about it. Last year was a bummer.
Last year, I don't know what
the Nationals and the Orioles.
Yeah, well, the Nationals always suck. So.
Well, they have some good young players, but they do. The owner spent some money this year, and we'll see what the results are.
Yeah, I tell you, this new owner is a lot better than Peter Angelos with opening up his wallet. Peter Angelos, it's like he was running it like if Ross Pierpont owned the Orioles.
Well, let me just. It's just going to shock both of you, although not, because I think you know the story. Peter Angelos was Mr. Democrat, Mr. Union Democrat, but he supported me, of all people. And he did that for one reason. He knew I cared about Baltimore. And he cared about Baltimore. He cared about the city. He cared about the neighborhoods. He cared about the people. He was much like William Donald Schaefer, that era guy, Mm-hmm. He was less philosophical when it came to the city. He just cared so much. And he pumped a lot of money into the city. So, I have a soft spot in my heart for him and his family.
Yeah. And also, we're coming to the end. I don't know. I was at this Italian restaurant, Gov, in Baltimore. It's called Missoni's. I don't know if you've heard of it.
It's pretty famous. It's pretty famous.
They got the best food in all of Baltimore County. I drive 57 miles to go there.
Well, Dwight, I think if you listen to the Bottom Line with Bob and Kendall Ehrlich podcast, every week we remind people, if you mention the Bottom Line Bob and Kendall Ehrlich podcast, you get 10% discount on your bill.
There you go.
And you can't beat that because the food is terrific and it's reasonably priced. And it's really a nice place. The environment's good. The bar's good. The food
Everyone's
is
friendly.
Everybody's friendly. And if you have a political bent, if you like to talk politics, that's the right place to go. No doubt about it.
Exactly.
But
Again, thank you.
thanks very much for having me on the show.
Great.
Love you guys. And Kendall sends her love. And also a pitch with regard to our podcast, Bottom Line, Bob and Kendall Ehrlich.
Mm-hmm.
And because I've been tweeting so much about Maryland and about what's going on, especially utility bills and reapportionment and 287G agreements and all that, follow me on X and Facebook.
So when's your next book coming out?
So my wife keeps asking me. I think she likes the royalties. So I'm not sure.
I really think you need to do a book on Maryland, just Maryland politics in general.
It'd be fiction, Dwight. It'd be fiction. See you guys.
Thank you, Governor.
Great having
Good
you.
evening.
Bye now.
Take care.
Good night. Bye.
Let's go down to Masoni's, where Italian cuisine shines. Let's go